Good afternoon and welcome back to the third of a three-part webinar series titled Using Your Data Profile Dashboard. I'm Suzanne Spear. I'm the Senior Director of Workforce Development here at ACU and really glad you're with us today. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time or are new to all things ACU, ACU is otherwise known as the Association of Clinicians for the Underserved. We were a national nonprofit founded over 25 years ago by alumni of the National Health Service Corps. We are focused on the recruitment and retention of a transdisciplinary workforce to serve the access issue. We have a bunch of different programs that you can read about on our website, which is clinicians.org. But we're here today because of our largest program, which is the STAR Center. And the STAR Center stands for Solutions, Training, and Assistance for Recruitment and Retention. We were awarded as a National Cooperative Agreement, otherwise known now as a National Training and Technical Assistance Partner by the Bureau of Primary Health Care. We are one of 21 National Training and Technical Assistance Partners, and we focus on all things clinician recruitment and retention. So the Bureau has funded us to develop free resources and trainings around all things clinician recruitment and retention. You can read about everything that we do at our website, chcworkforce.org. Again, all of our resources are free there, and we hope that you'll check them out if you haven't done so already. All right, just a bit of housekeeping items. The session is being recorded and it will be sent to you in your email box that you registered in. And if you haven't been with us before, or if you haven't missed the last two, you can go to your inbox and find them there, or you can find them posted on our website. During the webinar today, you can put information, chat, questions or comments into the chat box, and we'd be happy to answer them as we go along or at the end as appropriate. Feel free to contact Mariah Blake, who is ACU's program manager, and she can help you troubleshoot any technical difficulties you might be having. And then finally, please complete the evaluation at the end of today's session. So as I mentioned, today is the first of a three-part webinar series. And I mentioned in the last slide, we're recording these. And so they're going to be on our website in perpetuity. So if you miss something or you want to go back, you are welcome to do that anytime. All right, so today I have the pleasure of introducing you to our presenter today, and his name is Eric Turer. He is a senior consultant with John Snow Inc., otherwise known as JSI. He has been a wonderful friend and colleague to us here at ACU STAR Center. And honestly, he is really our data guru. He is the mind behind the data profile dashboard. So we're thrilled to have him here as a veteran of data, workforce data in the health center program. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Eric, and he is going to walk through our data profile dashboard, show you how to log in, and also all of the things that go along with the health center profile dashboard. So with that, Eric, I'm going to stop sharing and let you share your screen.
All right, great. Thanks, Suzanne. And I'll return that. It's been a great collaboration working together on this project and sort of bringing together our sort of passion for improving access to care through workforce, coming together with the data and also training and technical assistance to sort of hopefully move the ball forward in a bunch of ways that weren't possible. Have you stopped screen sharing? I should screen share something.
Yep.
Screen share that.
There you go.
Are you seeing my screen now?
Sure am.
Okay, great. The dashboards are, as was described in the previous webinars, really an iteration of what was a static report before that. And so what I'm going to do, the first day Suzanne sort of ran through the history, why we have these dashboards, what they're intended to do. Pam yesterday ran through a little bit using some static shots of the dashboards about sort of how to approach the data, what kind of things they can tell you. So mine is really very nuts and bolts, just how to use these dashboards, how to access them, how to find your way around them. I can't show you everything, but I'll show you all the basics, because your dashboards will look different than the dashboards that I have here. What I was first going to do, because Suzanne mentioned how to access the dashboards. This is the landing page for the chcworkforce.org website. And basically that's how you access the dashboards. Again, the login link will be given to the executive director of your health center or staff at the PCA if you're from a PCA. From the landing page, you'll just see data profile dashboard up here. If you click it, and you're logged in, you can see I have a log out, so you'll know you're logged in. And if you're logged in as someone who's already been authenticated to the dashboards, then you should be able to click this access data profile link, and that will take you to a Tableau page, which is sort of where we house our live dashboards. I'm not gonna work off of this. You can see this is not, that's why it says viewing as none, because I'm not logged into anything in particular at the moment. So I'm just going to close this, but I wanted to show you that's basically the process, and the dashboard will come up and the system will know what organization and what rights you have based on how you logged in. So I'm going to move now to an actual live demo of the dashboard. So this is a sorry, this little box there. This is a demo, what I call a demo version of the live dashboards. And the only thing that's different is behind the scenes, we've scrambled the names of the organizations and the states and the sites so that we're not revealing anyone's data. And you'll see I'm going to stay sort of zoomed in at a level where, hopefully nothing's identifiable, but it is live data. Don't call it out if you think you know the answer, but hopefully it's de-identified enough that it won't. So what you're going to do when you land, there's this landing page. There's no live data on this page. There's a couple of links here at the top, and mostly just a brief explanation of how to use the dashboards. And fundamentally, as an individual health center, you go from an organization view, which I'll show you, to a measured detail comparison view, which lets you do a little bit of a deeper dive. Up at the top, there's going to be a link to the user guide. So this will get updated. It's not updated yet if we go live, but it will be updated shortly. Link back to the Star Center and ACU. And then this link basically just takes you to the next tab, which, if you can see, the tabs are always live across the top of your screen here. So you can move back and forth between these views without using these navigation buttons, but generally they're the easiest way to do it. So I am logged in right now as a state. So I'm logged in as a PCA. So it says viewing as state YI, so that's encrypted. So hopefully not obvious what state that is. And so when you log in as a state, the next thing I'll show you will look just like what you'll see if you're logged in as an individual organization. The only difference is states can look at more than one organization. They can flip between the different organizations within the state. And then at the end, I'll show you another view that states can see that individual health centers can't, because it would be too revealing of all the other organizations in the state. So right now I'm looking at a site, an individual health center within the state that I'm logged in as. And you can see it gives you some basic information here at the top. If you're a PCA, unfortunately, it shows you just the grant number. And we haven't been able to get around that for some technical reasons. But so if you know the grant numbers of your health centers, otherwise, if you click through them, you'll find them. And they can easily be looked up. You get a map over here. The map is a live map, and I'll show you that. You get some descriptive information, and then you get sort of the meat of the report down here. And again, compared to what Pam was showing, you'll see these are all live things. So the dashboards move as you move around them. So in terms of your service area map, for those of you who are familiar, your core service area for each health center is the zip codes where you draw the first 75% plus where you cross the 75% threshold for patients that are mappable for your health center. So you can see this has sort of a core surrounded by a peripheral area. This is the rest of your mappable patients are from there. And for some organizations, you'll see this can be quite wide. This one's a little bit smaller. And if you mouse over each one, it will give you information about that particular ZICTA. This is kind of stuff you can get from like the UDS mapper, what the trend in users are, what the penetration of health center patients is, gives you some demographics. And it also says what % of your patients coming into the health center program, the individual health center, I should say, are on Medicaid, are uninsured. So it's very tied to very local geography. And if you mouse over, it's a little hard. There's one. And again, this is blinded. It'll show you the identities of each of the sites, what their addresses are, and then sort of the profile. So that's what you can get there. This is static. This information is just feedback. It's all stuff that's been submitted to the UDS, and sort of some of it's calculated in a way that you wouldn't necessarily see, like the FQHC Medicaid penetration rate for the health center's service area. So it can be useful, but it's reference. It's not dynamic like the data down here. And so let me just show, you can just flip between organizations. So like if I'm looking at that one, if I'm a PCA and I switch to another organization view, and the internet is kind and does not give me a problem. Sorry, my fingers are crossed right now. There we go. Okay, good. So everything changes, the view, the identity of the information changes, the map changes, and it all works the same way. You'll see these little chat heads or knowledge heads, we call them, which just gives you some information about that section. So this is talking about the map. This one's talking about how to drill down on the data at the bottom. So that's what I'm going to do next. I'm not going to go through what this means, other than to say, Pam mentioned some of your data will be flagged. In other words, shown at a with a blue coating, and that's basically telling us that this is data you may want to pay attention to. It's more or less with your organization is an outlier in this area. And outlier typically means about 10% of the health centers in the country at one or both ends of the spectrum are flagged. Not always true. I'll show you that in a minute. When you're hovering over one of these flags, if you look at the right, at the bottom, you'll see that it says what the flag logic is. So for this measure, which is what % of NHSC placements amongst your PAs, NPs, and CNMs are from the National Health Service Corps, the flag logic, which is 10%, I believe, for this measure is greater than 32%, so greater than or equal to 0.32. And then it gives you the rest of the information about where that metric comes from. And so that can give you a clue about, okay, why am I seeing a flag? So if you look across this metric, 2 years ago, last year it went up to 69%, this year it's up to 83%. So, clearly this has moved from sort of not something to pay attention to, quite a bit. And this can be a good thing. It's not, in this instance, doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means, clearly you're now moving into relying on the National Health Service Corps. That's a great thing. It's a great recruitment tool, over if it stays that way for a really long time, then that might be an indicator of something else. These gray areas are things that don't have data. So this is our new metric this year. So 89.4, this is a cost of living adjustment. So 89.4 means you're below the national average, which is 100 for this index. And it didn't exist for the previous years. We had that calculated. So, if you look at something like this has many flags, this organization. If I look at like visits per FTE, 2 years ago, it was sky high. I'll call that really sky high. If you see the flagging logic for this year is 3,800 roughly. It was at 5,800 and it's been coming down. So that's actually probably a good trend, still above the flagging threshold. So if I wanted to look at that, I'm going to sort of, let me If you highlight one or more measures, you'll see the rest of them go gray, and then you can just click it again to unhighlight it. I'm going to look at the patient panel metric, because that one is one where you're sort of closer to the line. It's not sort of so dramatically out of bounds a couple of years ago. So if I click on these, you'll see I get this option in the pop-up box. You kind of got to be a little patient with it. Come on, come back. Let me just select them again, because it's if you don't do anything for a minute, Tableau gets impatient with you. Oops. There we go. So you see how it's drawing a line across there. You can also use your control key. Okay, good. So once that box pops up, it gives you some information. At the bottom, you'll see this view detail for measure and year selected. So if I click this, it's going to take me to the next tab over on the spreadsheet. And what I'm doing is drilling down on these metrics to see if I can learn a little bit more about what's going on. Scroll up for a bit. What you've got at the top here are some filters, and then what's called a split. I sometimes call it a slicer, ways that you can split the data. So right now that's set to none. So we're not looking at any particular thing. We're just looking at trends across 3 years of data. So you can see this health center, your health center will always be a count of 1 in green, and then all the other comparison groups are on the other side. And again, I can choose to split that. So if I was saying, what about large and small? Now it's saying, okay, sorry, I did rural urban. Saying I'm urban because my green dots are in the urban category. Here's rural for comparison over here. So you can see the other blue dots or the other blue bars, what rural looks like versus or what urban looks like compared to rural. So a little bit higher, no real trend. And you can see that your organization is higher than that, even within the urban category. So urban's higher than rural, and yours is quite a bit higher than urban. So that's starting to tell you something. I'm going to clear that for a minute. This gets pretty busy pretty quickly. So you have to be a little judicious if you're going into multiple years. It may sometimes be sensible. You can click this back arrow to get back. I want to make sure I lose a little bit of time. So I'm going to go a little bit quicker. Let me do that again, but I'm only going to choose these 2 years. Come on. There we go. All right. Okay, so now I'm back in here. It's a little cleaner. I've got only 2 years worth of data. I can start playing with these filters up here. So for example, I'm comparing myself to almost 1,400 organizations in the current year. What if I said, all right, what if I was interested in only health centers where they have a CHC grant? So I'm going to say CHC has to be true. I'm going to turn off false. And still working. Why it's being a little laggy. You'll see a very slight change because you're not taking too many organizations out. Oops, did it do it? May have done it. It might not be that noticeable if I put it back. What I'm going to do is take CHC true off. So now I'll be looking at only health centers that are funded for special populations and not for basic CHC. And you'll see it's a much bigger change in the results. Sorry that this is being slow. It's a problem with live demo. So 2 things is, so the data changed quite a bit. The green bar disappeared because your organization is excluded by the filters you've chosen. And that's okay. So I might want to know, what do organizations look like that don't have a CHC grant or only special pops? And you can see that as long as there's enough of them to look at. Again, I'm going to put that back, and then we'll do a couple of experiments. There's literally dozens of ways to look at this, and you can do this for every one of the measures with any groupings of years. And that's why this takes some exploration. The idea is to kind of look through your data and see whether it can answer questions. So if I said, I wonder if this is due to my size. I wonder if what I'm seeing here is due to large, small. sort of went down that road. Rural and urban are not the same as large and small. And again, a little slow. Okay, so now what I'm seeing is, small health centers, of which I'm one, tend to have and sorry that this is off the screen, this patient panel per medical FTE that's a little bit lower than the ones on the other side, large health centers. But I, again, am quite a bit above a small health center's role, and even above a large health center for that metric. This over here shows you the what's called the histogram, the distribution. It can get a little crowded. I might say, well, those are kind of big chunky bars. Maybe I want 25 bars instead of 10, so I can get a little bit smoother curve. And what I also sometimes can do is exclude. Like if I exclude, I'm going to go up to 5%. You can see there's a lot of junk up here at the top end, really unusual organizations. I can just kind of scroll that up and say, now I'm going to cut 10% off of that. And now I get a much smoother curve that kind of doesn't have a bunch of outliers. Again, just exploring. I can pick a state. So I can say, I want to look just at my region. And so what if I said my region is the states of, oh, come on, sorry, CZ, so everything disappears if you don't choose anything. I'll choose EA. Come on. This was moving much faster before. CZ, EA, FC. Again, you can see I'm still not in this because our state is, I believe, YI, it says up here. So I've now made my own region of these two states. I'm going to throw YI back in the mix so that I'm part of my own region again. And then now you're drilling down and going, well, what about, does this really pertain to my part of the country? All right, and I'm getting close on time, so I'm going to move a little bit quickly. Hopefully you get the idea. You have your patient slider here, so even within large, small, large is now anything up to 190,000. I could slide that down so that large is only above my 10, but below, say, 20 if I slid that to 20. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a lot to sort of grasp, but if you play with it, you'll get the hint. So these are filters, so I can knock groups in or out. This is split, so I can split by grant status or urban, rural, large, small, etc. The last thing I'm going to show is the state summary. So this is only visible to PCAs. But what this lets you do is see all of the health centers. So this would show your whole state. I've got it zoomed in so you can't tell where we're exactly at in the country, but you'll identify your state. You'll see all the grantees and sites within your state. You can switch the years. And what this is on the current year side for your organization, each individual health center is being graphed separately. On the right side, national, you're seeing just all the aggregate data for health centers, collectively. And what you're doing is visually comparing. So you can see the national bar for this for NA, which means not applicable because it pertains to dental only. So groups that don't have dentists is a little bit bigger than it is for your state. And that can be useful up front. What I usually say is make note of that, see if that is a big driver in your state, then turn that off. And then you get a much cleaner view that's showing only health centers for each measure for whom that measure is applicable. And that's really a better way to look at it. So now you can see, like nationally, most of these are just set at 10%. But your organization over here clearly is more than that. So your state has a higher portion of dentists and that are flagging for this measure of high use of the NHSC. So this kind of gives you a quick view. I can go here and I can highlight individual health centers. So I can go down and say, where does this group fall? Okay, they've got 2 blue flags. This one, okay, that one's got 3, and they're in different places. You can do that right off too. You can say, all right, so let me get rid of this. So this one's flagging, this USCOL Health Center is flagging. I can click on it. It shows me all the other data for that one that's flagging. So it's also flagging here, but it's not flagging for the other measures. And again, you can play with this. Hopefully you can fairly quickly see, I can switch to a prior year, for example, and this is similar sort of data. So that's about it for the demo. And again, this will all be tied to whatever organizational view you're allowed to have. So I'm gonna wrap that. I know we're right up against time. Hopefully that wasn't too quickly. We're always available to answer questions and walk you through things if needed. And Suzanne, I'm gonna I guess stop screen share and kick it back to you if that's okay. Oh, you're muted, Susan.
I was double muted, you guys. I was double muted,
okay.
So now you know. And so I also wanted to recognize Alexia Eslan, who is also a consultant with JSI and a good friend and colleague of ours to help answer any questions you guys might have. I think one of the biggest takeaways that I just got from that, Eric, was that to really get in there and just click buttons and just play with the data, because I think that one thing that when I first saw the, I always put this out there, because when I first saw the data profile dashboards, and they weren't dashboards back then, they were just profiles, I was a bit intimidated because it was a lot of data. But I think the more that you really get in there and you start clicking buttons and things and really looking at the data from different perspectives and comparing how you're doing on one, or how a health center, if you're a PCA, how one health center is doing compared to other health centers in various categories, a particular data set. I think it really, it gives a lot of context and you know, gives a lot of context and sort of adding what's going on. But wanted to open it up for questions. Does anyone have any questions? I don't see any in the chat yet, but I didn't want to assume that there weren't any. So just want to make sure that we have time for a few questions. All right, so while you guys are thinking of questions, because you have at least two data experts here, Eric and Alexia, I am just, you know, I'm an expert, but not to the level that they are. So while you guys are thinking of questions, I just wanted to do a couple reminders as far as timeline goes. So on Monday, the health center CEOs or executive directors will receive an email from the Star Center that gives login information and just is just sort of a reminder that these are going on and or have been released. If you are a PCA staff and you have signed our data use agreement by next Wednesday, you will get an email on July 1st. We will continue to be pushing out information to PCA staff periodically, but that first release to PCA staff is going to be on July 1st. So those are two key dates. And then as Eric said, you know, we're here for you guys. That we want you all to utilize this resource to the fullest extent possible. There are a lot of things going on right now that BHW and BIPIC are focused on as far as workforce goes. And we want this to be an asset to you all. And so we want you all to ask questions and, you know, let us know how we can best help you with them. Okay, so I'm opening up my chat screen, but I can't see it. Eric, can you or Alexia see in the chat? I'm sorry.
Suzanne, we have a question from Maria about if we need more assistance after going through the data, if they can reach out with questions.
And the answer is yes, absolutely, 100%. PCAs will get, we'll definitely have some opportunity to talk through these and how you all can best utilize these through our PCA professional development series and some other opportunities, so stay tuned for that. But as far as one-on-one TA to health centers, yes, we are always here for you. Either a member of the ACU Star Center team or the JSI team, we're always here for you. So whoever you get for technical assistance will be more than ready to help you understand your personal data and how, you know, what it means, because you guys know exactly what's going on with your health center, with the context, and we can sort of help you go through the data and what it might mean. So as Mariah mentioned in chat, please go ahead and fill out the post-session evaluation. We would greatly appreciate it. And I don't see any other questions, but I just want to thank Eric and Alexia for being here today, and Eric for all the time and effort that he puts into these each year. He truly is the mastermind behind them and making them happen. So we're truly grateful for his partnership and his all the time and effort that he puts into there. So thank you guys so much for being here today, and thank you all for attending today's webinar. And feel free to contact us with any questions at info@chcworkforce.org. And with that, we'll sign off, and we will talk to you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.